Okay, so today what we're going to be doing is creating a seamless texture like the one that you can see here, out of a single image. So this is kind of what we want to get to. Probably a little bit better than this actually. We'll probably change a few of the edges and stuff like that. So we'll get started straight away. I'll get rid of the one that I've already created, and we'll start from scratch. So if you're new to Photoshop, what we want to do is file new, and in here we can actually place in the width and height of the image resolution that we're using. We'll do 2048 by 2048. So this is going to be a texture for our 3D game texture. I suppose 2D as well you could use it for. So this would be a nice resolution to get a lot of detail in there, and not lose any detail from the high res image that we're going to use as well. So I'm just going to click OK on that, and you'll see we've got like a blank canvas straight away. What you need to do is find yourselves a texture, something that you like stone or rock or something like that. Just try to find something like that offline, and then download it, and that can be the image that we're going to kind of use to create our texture. So you can see here I've got one here already downloaded, so you just go ahead, get any one you like, and I'm just going to drag and drop this one in because I've already got it set up in Photoshop. We can just place that one there, and cool. So once this is in Photoshop, you can pretty much just find the part that you're really keen on, that you like about the image. I mean, this is really high res, so I'm just gonna get mine to about here. I like it there, so that's fine. And once we've done that now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn that off for a second because I want to change the color of this background. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click the background lock key here. So it's got a little lock key, and you'll see you can add a layer on there. So it's called layer 0. It's always good to name your layers, so you can just call this background if you wanted to, and then we've obviously got layer 1 here. You could probably lock this off again, name it something appropriate, so base image or something like that, just so I know what these are, because we are going to be using a lot of layers in this. So once that's done, the next thing we need to do, we need to actually divide up this image into a grid spacing, which will help us with tiling the bricks correctly. So what I'm going to do, if I believe I go to edit and then preferences, it might be different on a Mac. I think it might be file or something like that, but if you can find the preferences on a Mac as well, and what we want to find is the grid, well, the guides, grid and slices settings. So once this is selected, we'll go to view actually, so we can see this update real time, and I click apply. You can see that I've already got some settings in here. Grid line every 254 pixels. Okay, so you can see that's how my image is being divided up. Now I can change this to, I can increase the size, I can decrease the size. Okay, so I can have it every 100 pixels, but what I want to kind of do is divide this image up. Now because I've done this previously, I already had kind of a size set up here which is kind of breaks even really and lets us divide the image up equally. So I'm just going to count these off: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. That's fine. So you want to finish on an even number. So if you didn't want small bricks like this, maybe you wanted them to be a bit larger, just make sure it's an even number, so it can be divided equally. So that's really important for when we come to tile it, and you'll find out why in a minute. So I'm happy with that. Again, if you wanted to increase the size, you could. There's no reason why you can't. I mean, we could put this up. Let's see what we've got there: 2 4 6. So again, you could use that if you wanted to, so you could have larger bricks there, but I'm going to keep the smaller amount of bricks in there, just for the detail. So I'm going to click OK. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to be creating a lot of layers in here. Okay, so I'm going to use the selection marquee tool. All right, so I'm going to grab this, and while I've got my grid on, you'll see that when you use this, it snaps to that grid area there, creating like a nice brick shape for us. So the shortcut here, there is shortcuts to do this, but if you go to edit, okay, you'll see you've got cut, copy merged, paste special, which pastes it in a place that you've copied it from, and there are different shortcuts as well. So you can see here Shift Control C will allow you to copy that, and then Shift Control V will allow you to paste that in there. All right, now I'm using copy merge because we're going to have a lot of layers that I'm going through as I go through here, just to get these right. So what I want to do here is Control Shift C. Oops, let's get on this layer here. Control Shift C and then Control V, and you can see that it's created a copy of that little section there, and it's actually put it in there. So what I want to do now, it's actually created a new layer, sorry, and it's placed the image in the top right there. So what I want to do now is I just kind of want to go through these. I mean, I can stay on this one. I just want to go through the image, dividing these up. So it does take a little bit of time, a little bit of prep work. There might be a quicker way to do it, I'm not sure. Have a look, see if you can find out. And you can see there the reason why we've done it this size as we have here. So if I turn that off now, you can see that these bricks now tile straight to the edge, and we've got just a tiny little bit of overlap there, which we're going to use to our advantage later on. So that's why we've divided it up, the grid, to be even, and it helps as well later on to with the tiling of the top row to the bottom row when we're creating this seamless texture. So again, you've just got to kind of repeat this process. Just go through it as quick as you can, selecting these. Oops, let's do, don't think I had Shift L down there. So just take your time, go through them. Oops, pressed X instead of C. Let's just have a look how we're doing. Yeah, that's good. So I'm on this row here. So again, Control Shift C, Control V. There we go. So I mean, I'm doing all this in real time as well, just to so you can see the entire process as well. I mean, I was going to pause the video at this stage, but I know it's a little bit boring, but at least you can kind of see, you know, if there were any errors or any mistakes or anything like that, you'll be able to see me go back and fix them in real time, as opposed to me kind of pausing the video and, you know, making everything quick and look super neat straight away. So that's what I'm trying to do here, and I suppose it gives you guys as well an idea of how long the process takes, rather than you just think, you know, you get instant results. You know, you can kind of come through and see how long actually these things take to, you know, get things working and get them set up correctly. So you can see there, it's only took a minute or two just to get to the last row. Oh, so you can see I've just done on that one there. You can switch off. You can see where I've just made a mistake there. I've not actually cut it to the edge, so I'm just going to delete that layer. All right, I'm going to come back. Again, this is what it's good for you guys to see, really, when mistakes happen. How do you fix those mistakes? How do you go back? How do you recognize them? So I'm just going to go through again and just finish off really quickly. We've got one more and we're pretty much done there. Cool. Right, so I can switch this off now. I've got my kind of base layer, if you like, here, and it's still white. So I did say before I want to fill that with a color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my paint bucket here. I'm going to select a really dark color on this, and I'm just going to fill it. Whoops, I'm just going to fill our background, just making sure that I've got the background selected. There we go. So I can fill that there. And that'll be used for kind of your gaps and things like that. So now we've got all these layers. okay, of all these different bricks in here. What we need to do now is apply some effects to these and kind of add little bits of detail with them. Now Photoshop has some really good effects tools. So you can see here, add a layer style. So what we can do is if we select that, we can come into here, and what we want to add is a bevel emboss here. So you can see that it's being applied to this first image, all right, because that's the one that I've got selected here. Okay, whoops, click that there. So when I turn that off, I can toggle this off and on. You see you've got a bunch of different settings here. So what we want to create is that brick kind of look that we had on this image here. So if we go back to the original image and I just undo this, you can see, hopefully you can start to see where the bevels come into play. So what I want to do is, while I've got this selected, is I want to mess around with the bevel settings. So I can change the depth of this, I can change the size. Okay, so you can see there I'm getting a good size. I can soften the edges somewhat, I can harden them. You've got whether you want a chiseled hard kind of style, so you can see there that this is what I'm going for. All right, now you'll notice that with this it has some lighting effect on there, which is probably not the best idea for us because this is going to be displayed in 3D. So a lot of the lighting that we can create from specular maps and things like that. So we don't really need to worry too much about the lighting effects and shadow. Also, this kind of predetermines that the light is above. All right, if you think of a kind of a brick wall anyway, we want to get all these kind of equal where they're all shaded, kind of flat really, as if someone's staring at it head on, and that way it just makes a little bit better control when we come to create like normal maps and things like that. It allows us to control like the look of it a little bit better. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change that top lighting effect there, and what's controlling this is the shading. So you can see here you've got your shading panel. So if you come down here, you've got the highlight mode. Now the highlight mode for the top and the bottom are different. So the shadow mode for the bottom is multiply, all right, and the shadow mode for the top is screen, all right. So I'm going to change our top one to multiply, and I'm going to change that as well, like that, to be darker as well, and then we've got like a nice kind of brick shape. Now again, you can change the opacity of these, so you could essentially turn them down a bit. So I've got that one on 57. You know, I could have this one similar, around about the same, 57 for your brick. It all depends on you. What's the amount of detail that you want in there? You know, how much do you want to, you know, how dark do you kind of want these edges, and so on. It would make it a little bit darker, so I'll just go for around about 70. Again, there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's entirely up to yourselves. What you'll see there, if we actually go to view, and I'm just going to turn off the grid setting there, you'll see that you've got kind of a brick there set up. All right, so again, let's just put our grid back on just to keep things consistent. If you want to edit this again, you know, you can just double click the layer that it's on, and you can just tweak it a little bit. So you can actually soften, sharpen the edges again, you know, increase the size, decrease the size, change the depth if you like. Yeah, so you can increase that depth there. Change this. So it's entirely up to you really to kind of experiment and get these kind of settings that you want. So again, I'm just going to play around here. Let's try to change a few things. Maybe you want chiseled soft as well, and you've also got smooth. You can have the smooth as well if you wanted to. So I think that chiseled hard works better, and then softening the edge there on that, and then just take the size down a little bit. I think that looks all right. I'm just a bit concerned there with this top part here. Let's see if we can get rid. No. I want that one in a bevel. Should be all right. We're not using light anyway. Don't need that, and that'll be okay, I think. Again, let's just look for view, And just turn off the grid, makes it a little bit easier to see. So that's not bad. That's all right. Maybe it needs to be a bit sharper. But again, you know, I'm not going to spend too long on this. You guys just, you know, experiment. Maybe you want to work a little bit more on the brick and things like that. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that our brick's got really straight edges as well. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work on those bricks individually, possibly a little bit later on when we get them set up and things like that. But for now, that'll do. So what we want to do then is if you hold, can't get my words out. If you hold Alt, okay, and you select the effects here, you can actually toggle these off as well. But if you hold Alt and you click and drag, I can apply these effects here to my other bricks. So you can see that we've got these bricks, whoops, popping on. Just make sure that you're selecting the top effects layer, because you can have multiple effects on one layer. So you make sure you grab them. This is kind of like a group stack here. So if you just drag and drop each one of them onto your kind of brick where you want them, that'll be absolutely fine. I'm just gonna finish off with these. Let's go, get them up to the top. So again, we're working with a lot of layers here. One more. There we go. Cool. Right, so we've got our bricks kind of set up now the way we want them. It's fine. If you think some of them are looking a little bit too light, or there's not enough shading on some of them, you can actually adjust them individually as well. So maybe like this one here, it's a little bit brighter, so maybe you want to change the bevel effect, so you can select that individually. We can come in here, we can actually darken it up if we wanted to, make it look a bit darker, increase the size, maybe it's a little bit more in, soften that edge a little bit more, yeah, or darken it up. So again, it's entirely up to yourselves what it is you kind of want to achieve with them, really. But you can change them individually. I was just going to leave mine the same for the purposes of this video, but for you guys, experiment, change it up. Again, you've got the corner bits here. Maybe you want to experiment with the bevel settings there, and get rid of some of those corner effects, which is still indicating that there's a little bit of light bouncing off there. So the next step, really, we're going to actually mix all these up. Now I'm going to start from the bottom, because the bottom stack here will be the top. The bottom layer down here is this one. All right, so that's that one, and that's the lowest layer. So the way Photoshop works is it stacks on top of each other. So I'm going to start with the top stack here, which would be this one. So I'm just going to move all these bricks out of the way. Just going to bring them up here. All right. Again, don't be worried about them going under each other and not being able to see them. We can sort them out shortly. So let's just move this. Let's get this one up. Come up, come up. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put, for this next bit on, I'm just going to put the grid settings back on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start placing these randomly down. I'm going to use some of the top pieces as well here, so you can see that I'm grabbing this. And I'm actually mixing the image up, if you like. So the image is becoming not as unified, it's becoming more like bricks, where each brick is individually like a different texture. So again, I'm just going to place this up and bring that there. Maybe actually I'll use maybe another top piece, a nice light piece there. Okay, so the next row, obviously with these bricks, they're kind of like a staggered pattern, yeah, so you've got like this staggered pattern here. So what you kind of want to do for the next row is whatever brick you use here, you need the same brick here. So for example, if I come down here and I place my brick kind of here like that, then I'm going to hold Alt and I'm going to create a copy and I'm going to place that there. Okay, and the reason I'm doing that is because when we tile this now, if you're familiar with tileable textures, which I hope you are at this stage, if you tile this now, like this will be a repeated pattern here and here. Okay, so that's why we've got to have the same brick there. So again, let's just come in. I'm going to place this brick here. Let's grab this one, grab this brick. Yeah, we'll use this one. And again, just for the same here, I'm just going to grab these randomly. Let's place them down. You can, you know, place different shaped bricks as well, different size bricks if you wanted to. I mean, it's entirely up to yourself on what your kind of wall is that you're looking at. You know, what it's like, what's the pattern like. So maybe you want some of these, maybe you wanted some square pieces as well. You certainly can do that within the grid settings. As long as everything finishes even, you'd be absolutely fine. So again, let's bring, maybe we'll get actually this one here and grab that one there. Got one there, and then just bring this one up. So again, just getting a bit in the way, so just if things are in the way, just drag them out of the way. We'll put that one there. Get these near the top row, so we'll have this one here. Again, I'm just going to hold Alt and copy that across. Make sure these are snapped in place. And then we've got 2 rows left. So again, let's just bring this up. We've got that one there. There we go. That one there. I think that one's going to be the edge. So we're going to have that pop it across. And then 2 bricks left. Okay, cool. So we've pretty much got our seamless texture ready to go. So let's just turn off these grid settings. Okay, so before we start getting rid of any seams or anything like that we notice, what you'll notice with this is the bricks are all very straight, they're very tightly packed. You can see like a very, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see like a very fine line there. That might not be how you want your brick to kind of look. Okay, you might want these a little bit more, you know, with this setting where it shows like a bit of a darker background or something like that. So you can certainly do that in here. I'm not going to go through all the bricks individually, but maybe if we select one of these bricks, okay, you can create a layer mask for that. All right, and just using your brush or using different brush settings. So let's pick, I'll pick kind of maybe a chalk brush or something like that. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so we can see what's going on here. So with this, you're working non-destructively. So what we can do is, if I rub that out, you can see that I'm actually rubbing quite a bit of the brick out there. So what we can actually do is, if I click 5, I can change the dynamics of my brush here. And you've got different settings that allow you to do different things. So you can see that I've got a bit of a scatter setting, so I can scatter that out. Maybe the chart brush wasn't the best one to use, but we'll stick with it for now. Let's just change this, change that, maybe scatter that out a bit. Shape dynamics again, probably won't need that. Maybe I'll try this hard brush with the dual brush setting. There we go, that's nice. And then scatter detail, so we can get, so what I'm trying to create is a brush stroke that kind of looks like it's chipped away a little bit. So that one I'll do for now. And then what I can do is with these settings here, so I've got obviously black selected there, and kind of come in and maybe chip away at some of the detail here. So again, you know, you can kind of chip away at these bricks. Now because they're beveled as well, yeah, you're going to get to see the bevel change with the brick as well. All right, again, we can come through and tweak that up a little bit if you want to. And then for example, maybe we want to change this brick here as well. So I'll just put a layer mask on that. Again, I'm just going to use this brush setting. Hopefully did I save it? Yes, it's saved in there. Should be, there we go. So it's maintained my brush setting. Again, I'm just going to come through, chip away a little bit at this brick. You know, just make it look a little bit more, I suppose, a bit more natural in a way. But then if we zoom out now, bricks aren't going to be all, you know, perfect. I mean, if you are going for that kind of perfect look where they're, you know, they're all slotted in together perfectly, then that's absolutely fine. You know, you stick with that. But if you wanted a little bit more kind of, I don't know, maybe a natural formation, maybe an old warm formation, then it's certainly something to consider, where you can get these and you can kind of chip away at some of these edges a little bit. There are different ways to do it. You could essentially just use the rubber. You could add more shading to this if you wanted to. So it's entirely up to yourself. I'm not going to do each of the bricks. I'm just going to keep my pattern kind of like this now, just for time's sake. So the next thing we need to do is we need to actually make this, or ensure this image is seamless. And I'm actually just going to tweak some of this pattern a little bit, so you can see we've got some sections down here, that little bit of overhang that we had. So I'm just going to come in, I'm just going to tweak some of these bricks here, make a few gaps. You know, you can grab them as well if you wanted to. Maybe you want to tilt one or two of the bricks, yeah, making them not look as nice. So again, maybe it's one that we've done up here or something, maybe that's tweaked as well, you know, so they're not as straight and that. And obviously with this one here, you can see where you've got that little bit of a overhang there. So again, this would be an ideal one to actually tweak, to put your layer mask on. You know, use that brush setting, just come through and change some of that there. So you could just come through, maybe just tweak it, chip away at the edging that little bit. You can see there you're getting like different effects. There we go, something like that. Again, you just have to spend a little bit more time kind of cleaning that up, getting it straight. So from when that's done, and you know, you're happy with all the bricks and you're happy with the state of everything that's on there, what you'd want to do is you want to select all these individual bricks that we've got, and we're just going to drag and drop them into a group folder. All right, so we've got a group there now, and I'm going to create a copy of this group. So I'm just going to say edit, copy merged, and then paste that, so we can paste in place there. I'm going to turn off those groups, and then with this layer selected now, the actual copy layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to filter, other, offset. Okay, now what I need to do here is divide my image size. So this was I think it was 2048 by 2048, so obviously half of that is 1024 by 1024. So I'm going to click OK, and the reason we're doing this is so we can see any seams here. So you can see where those original bricks that was on the edge, what I put on the edge here, are actually here. So you can see there's one of the ones that we made. So what you kind of want to do with this is there's different ways you can sort it out. You certainly use the stamp tool. You can use the spot heal. So we could just come in here very quickly and just draw down, and that'll get rid of most of that for us. If you're not happy with the little smudge that it leaves, try using the clone tool or something. So you could, you know, select the clone tool here, and you can go over the brick if you want to that way. I'm just going to stick with a spot heal just for time's sake. So I'm just going to come in here, I'm just going to go down there like that. I'm just going to grab that one. Oops, done quite a lot there. I'm just going to grab that one, just go down, get rid of these seams, and that's all right, that looks okay. So if we actually zoom out now, you'll see you've got a tileable texture that can be applied within to a 3D environment. And again, don't be afraid to put a bit more work in on these bricks, you know, make them look a little bit more natural. Try different techniques, different brush strokes. Maybe you don't want to use a layer mask, maybe you want to use a rubber or something like that. You certainly can go over these as well with some hand painted stuff. So maybe you want to put some extra highlights in. It's entirely up to yourself. Maybe the background's not dark enough. Again, that's something you could look into. I think finally, I think what I'll show you is how you can change. So I mean, if you're not happy with the actual color, there's different things that you can use in here. So Photoshop has some filters that you can apply over the top. So you've got hue and saturation, which is a good one for changing the color. Yeah, so you can see you've got more of a stone wall kind of look, I suppose. Again, you could, you know, take a bit of the color out with the saturation. And you've also got another good one that we could look at, I suppose, is the levels one as well, where you can actually increase the sharpness of the black and white and grey areas of the image. So, you know, a lot of people usually tweak these quite a lot. So again, this is extreme, but then, you know, you can tweak those a little bit. So maybe you want a bit more emphasis on that shade in there. And maybe again, if you want to edit that, just double click on it. You can take a bit of that out. You know, we can change it up, darken it down a bit, and it's entirely up to yourself. So you can create different effects there and different kind of looks really. So that looks a bit more like stone. Maybe it's a little bit too dark. So if it's a bit too dark, you know, just take a bit of that out. And there you go. So that'll be the end of the tutorial. So I give you a challenge of trying to create your own brick texture. Remember, you know, try and get these bricks looking worn. Change them up as much as you can. If you want to flick back and forth as well, just between the image to see how it'll tile, you know, once you've got that filter set, you should be able to just offset it like that, and it'll go back to the original side, the original view that you had it at. So give it a go, see what you can do, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.